Sky. Sky.
It's all right, baby. Baby, it's all right. Everything is fine now. Okay. He's dead. I killed a man.
Sky, how did you get here?
I flew. I took a private jet. I just couldn't stand being separated from you, honey, so I came home. And I saw there was a car parked in the driveway to one side, and then there was Geraldine's car out front.
Oh, God, Geraldine, she's hurt. She might be dead.
Did he, shoot her?
I don't know.
And I figured that, something was wrong, so I got the gun from the garage and,
We have to call somebody. We have to call... Did they all go away?
Yeah. They're all gone.
Good.
Well, listen, you're not going to have to answer any questions, not tonight, anyway. It'll be a lot easier in the daylight.
Is Geraldine okay?
Well, she's probably in the hospital by now. Dr. Kavanaugh said that he'd let me know if there was any news.
Dr. Kavanaugh was here, too?
Yeah, he was here. Chief Mallory, there was a whole bunch. Oh, yeah. And the doctor gave me these, the sedative. He said to calm your nerves and make it easy to sleep if you want.
No, I don't want to take those. I don't want to sleep. I want to breathe and be awake and feel alive.
You're going to feel alive. And you're going to feel healthy, and you're going to be very happy.
There was a nightmare. And everything was going along pretty well, too. And then it all had to go wrong.
Not anymore, Raven. Not after tonight. After tonight, everything is going to be perfect for you. I promise.
Did you see what he did to your study? He saw that it was locked and thought there might be some valuables in there and blew the lock off.
That's okay. Locks can be repaired.
Can everything be repaired?
Yes.
I think I will take one of these. There's a lot I would like to forget.
No, you were right, Raven. This isn't a time for sleeping. This is a time for talking. I've got something I want to talk to you about.
What?
I want to talk to you about a man named Jeff. Jeff Brown.
Jeff Brown? The man that died in the plane crash?
Yes, there was someone who died in that plane crash, Raven, but, well, you know more about my friend than you're letting on, don't you?
What do you mean?
You know, when I lived in a hotel, I didn't keep these pictures and papers, memorabilia with me. They were locked up in a warehouse, but when I bought this house, I thought it would be safe to have them with me, that I could keep them locked up here. It was crazy of me to think that I could keep my secret from you, from my own wife. It wasn't hard with Martine or Gunther or dear old Aunt Geraldine, the aunt who isn't really my aunt.
So it's true.
Oh, you knew that, of course. You've known it for a week or so. Ever since you got into my sanctum sanctorum and saw that photograph of me and Jeff. And that shrewd little brain of yours began to click and put two and two together. What was it that finally did it, Raven? Was it the scar?
Yes.
And then you began asking questions. And then you asked more questions. Until finally you knew. You know who I am, don't you, darling?
Well, I didn't know what to do. I love you, and I didn't know who you were.
But you do know who I am. This is me. The man that you married. And you're going to be just fine. You're going to live happily ever after, and you're going to be Mrs. Schuyler Whitney for the rest of your life.
Do you realize what a shock it was for me when I realized that the man who I was married to wasn't really the man I was married to? I didn't even know you.
But this is me. You do know me. This is me just the way God created me, with a few minor alterations. And then I knew that you had found the key to my study, and that you had been prowling around in here.
Oh, God, it was so stupid. I remember I took the key out and I forgot to put it back.
Don't ever go into the espionage business, darling. You'll never make a go of it.
And then I kept asking questions about the scar and about the crash and about Dr. Bryson. It was Dr. Bryson who did the surgery.
He was a brilliant surgeon, and probably the most discreet man I've ever met. You haven't mentioned this to anyone, have you? Your suspicions?
No, of course not. Who could I possibly talk to? Everyone would think I was crazy. And I didn't want to ruin my marriage.
Not even to Nancy Carr when you asked her to investigate the facts about the plane crash?
No, Nancy Carr just thought I was asking about your past.
How about Aunt Geraldine?
Well, I wanted to talk to her, and I did try to talk to her, but she was the only one I felt that I could talk to.
Is that why she came over here tonight, so you could talk?
Yes, but she didn't know what I wanted to talk about, and I didn't even know she was coming. She said she was going to work late.
Yes, I remember.
I wanted to talk to you. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to run up to you and beg you please to tell me the truth.
Why didn't you?
I was afraid.
Of me?
Yes. I didn't know what you would do. And I didn't want to risk my marriage and lose everything I had.
Just as I didn't want to lose everything that I had. Including you.
Well, tell me. Tell me the story. How did you become Schuyler Whitney?
Well, it was one of those golden opportunities, something that happens once in a lifetime. It was the chance to become everything I'd always wanted to be.
You always wanted to be Schuyler Whitney?
No. I despised the original. He was a sheltered, greedy, pompous, self-important child. Oh, but he had one marvelous attribute, Raven. He had money. He had great stacks of money. Huge pyramids of money. Enormous skyscrapers of money. The man was as rich as Croesus.
And you wanted to live his life?
No. I wanted to live my life. Jeff Brown's life in here.
And in the study?
Yes. It's very perceptive of you. I wanted someplace where, well, Jeff Brown could really live, where he could relax. That's why I had pictures of friends, old letters, my high school yearbook, things like that inside. Links with my past. You know, it was tough to give up that face for this one. I remember the first time I saw it.
Where?
Switzerland. Sky was there for 3 months. He had time to kill. We had a lot in common. We were the same age, same height, same general build. We both loved to ski. And we both loved to live like millionaires. But you see, there was a significant difference. You see, he really was a millionaire many times over. And Jeff Brown was a pauper.
So you became his friend?
He had 3 months to kill waiting for all of that inheritance to land in his lap. He told me about it the first day I met him. Not that he was lacking for funds at the time. I mean, he had enough money to rent the entire chalet. Jeff Brown couldn't even afford a single room.
So how did you manage it?
There was only one way that a man like Skylar Whitney could make friends. He had to buy them.
There you are, little boy. Why don't you take this and pay that nasty man his room rent so we can get out of this mausoleum?
Sure. Where did you want to go?
Well, got some friends who've got a chateau with a heated swimming pool. And I'd like to go check out the bathing suits the ladies are wearing this year. I hear they're positively scandalous.
Sounds good to me.
I know one cute little blonde I'd like to invite from the hotel.
Which one's that?
Her name is Valerie. Valerie Bryson.
So you did know that little twerp in Switzerland?
No, Sky knew her. She was a very attractive young girl, and Sky felt that every attractive young girl belonged to him.
But of course you weren't interested.
No, I was curious about her. There was a guest who was staying there who got drunk one night who said that her father was the best friend the underworld ever had.
Her father was a crook.
Not a crook. A fine surgeon. A man who could change your appearance and never once ask about your motivation.
For the right price.
I told Sky about the rumor, but he wasn't interested in it. The only thing he was interested in was in Dr. Kenneth Bryson's daughter.
But of course, the rumor was important to you.
No. Not until the plane crash. Not until Sky decided it'd be a lot of fun to rent a plane and go over the Alps into Zurich. He wasn't half the pilot that he thought he was. We hit a snowstorm. Downdrifted hundreds of feet, and we must have hit the top of a tree or something and lost the propeller. Sky, where are you? Sky, where are you? Sky. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He was dead, Rib. But I was only bruised. And I got out of there just in time before the snowstorm carried the wreckage of the plane and his body into a mountain crevice. I took everything with me that I could carry, including his money belt. That man actually wore a money belt. Do you know how much money he carried around with him? He had almost $100,000 in large bills.
How did you stay alive?
I think it was the money that kept me alive. I mean, I couldn't eat it, but it did keep me warm. And then I searched around until I found an empty Swiss guide's cabin. And I stayed there I don't know how many days trying to think of what I was going to do next. And then I got my idea. I knew what my next stop was going to be. It would be Lucerne in the clinic of Dr. Bryson. Yes, that's right. I was wearing bandages when I arrived at the clinic. I didn't want anyone to recognize Jeff Brown. So I became Lieutenant James Diedrichson, war hero.
That's who Dr. Bryson believed you were.
Dr. Bryson never asked me one single question. Oh, no, that's not entirely true. He did ask me how much I could pay. And I told him that money was no object, as long as I got a new face. This face.
Obviously, you had a picture of the real Sky.
Yeah, I had a few, including that famous picture by the swimming pool that has changed our lives so much.
So you went through all of this for...
For what? 30, 40, $50 million. I mean, I didn't even know the extent of poor Sky's fortune, but I did know that if I could pull this off, I would be a very wealthy man for the rest of my life. No, that's right. I wasn't a dead ringer for Sky, but people who knew me slightly would never know the difference. Especially after the plane crash.
Of course. They would all figure it was from the accident.
That's right. See, even little scars that were left from the operation, they could be easily explained away. But the most important thing was the people who knew Sky well, I mean, the people here in Monticello, hadn't seen him in 14 years. And he only had one living relative, one dear old aunt.
Geraldine. And you fooled her.
You bet I fooled her, just as I fooled all those bankers and the lawyers. You know, I'd be surprised how well people treat you when you've got money, Raven. It may be the single most important attribute of wealth. And I knew if I could fool Geraldine, I would have it made. I'd be Skylar Whitney for the rest of my life.
If she only knew.
And dear old Sky, he loved to talk about his aunt and her remarkable family. And then again, she was a very public person. I had no trouble finding out anything I needed to know. There were one or two faux pas.
Like what?
Well, like when I first told Geraldine that I was going to buy the mansion, I said, you know, and I could hardly remember what it was like. She reminded me that I had never set foot in it. But it was only a minor matter. It didn't make her alarmed.
And you got away with it.
Yes, I did. And you know, after the first couple of weeks, it was no longer a masquerade. I mean, I really began to feel like Sky Whitney.
Does he haunt you? I mean, do you think about him out there in the snow?
Raven, he was dead. I mean, he was dead out there, dead and buried, and I was alive. Can you think what a waste this would have been? I mean, all this. All the Whitney millions. I mean, most of it would have gone to the government. And he was dead as a mackerel. Oh, no. I couldn't let all this estate remain untouched by human hands. I mean, let it go to the government to build highways or ballistic missiles or something. I mean, how could I do that?
You couldn't! And you didn't, and you did the right thing, and I love you! You're wonderful! And we are gonna take the world for a ride.
No, wait a minute. Just wait a minute now. Do you know what you're saying? I mean, you know the truth now, so if we'd agree to some pact of secrecy, that means that you're an accomplice.
It's all right. I'm with you. A while ago, I did some bad things involving my son in order to get a fortune, so I understand you, and I love you for it.
Oh, my God. I was such a fool. I should have told you about it right from the start.
Well, why didn't you? What did you think I was gonna do? Go run to the place screaming imposter? I love you. And I also love money.
You know, from the first time we met, I knew that we were exactly alike. And we both love to practice the fine art of high living.
So let's practice till we get it right.
It's such a relief to have somebody to talk to tell my secret to.
Oh, it must have been terrible.
Yeah, well, at least now you know where I had my secret study.
So that you could be Jeff Brown once in a while?
Yeah. I couldn't just forget about it.
Well, your secret is safe with me.
Well, I should hope so, because it is just as important to you now as it is to me.
I won't tell a soul.
Oh, I do love you, Mrs. Whitney.
Don't you try to deny it. You told me all about Lieutenant Diedrichson, that phony name you used at the clinic in Lucerne. She didn't even know you were Mr. Brown.
Raven, will you shut up? Don't be a damn fool.
Well, you didn't tell me about her, did you?
Yes,
You're a bad boy.
I told you that I met her there.
In San Moritz?
Yeah.
Yeah, you met her in San Moritz. And then you found out what her father did for a living. That really intrigued you, didn't it?
No, it didn't. It wasn't until later. I mean, it wasn't until later that... Look, you're being ridiculous. You're working yourself up into a pointless frenzy.
It's not pointless. You were in love with her, weren't you?
Of course not.
Well, you met her again in Lucerne.
Look, I never knew her in San Moritz. It was the other. It was the original Sky. And she loathed him, too. He tried to get her in bed after she knew him for just an hour.
The cad.
Jefferson Brown never knew Valerie Bryson. Now, don't you understand that? All I did was stand by while boy millionaire put the moves on her.
Well, she looked like an easy target to me, too.
Oh, come on. She was an 18-year-old kid. She was still in school.
I don't care what she was. Mr. Romantic Lieutenant Diedrichson. with his face all shot up by the enemy.
I had to have a cover, Raven.
You know what you had to have. You had to have a pretty little blonde to play with while your face got healed.
There was never any romance between us. I mean, first of all, my face was all covered in bandages. She never knew what I looked like. I mean, I didn't even get to kiss the girl, for crying out loud. You're being very silly.
I am, aren't I?
Yeah.
I can't help it. These past few days have been so crazy.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The thing that really upsets me is the thought of that blonde little twerp in love with you.
Look, it wasn't me. It was just a situation.
She just died. She knew you were really three men. Lieutenant Diedrichson, Skylar Whitney, and Jefferson Brown.
Raven, will you be a little bit discreet? I don't know where Gunther is. He could be lurking around here or anything. The last thing we need is for Gunther to know our little secret.
All right. I won't say anything else, I promise.
I'm gonna hold you to that promise.
Drinking awfully early in the day, aren't you? Did you have any lunch? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Couldn't be better.
Look, I hate to leave, but I have a hair appointment at 2, and I want to go see Geraldine at the hospital. What time is it anyway? I forgot my watch.
So... Oh, you know, I forgot my watch, too. I must have left it upstairs in the bedroom.
Look, I'm sorry that I have to just leave now. I mean, I'm not trying to ignore your problems. As a matter of fact, I want you to know the reason I saw all those people today was because I was thinking of you.
Drink?
Please. I want to help you, Sky. You know about that investigation on Dr. Bryson, right?
Yes, I've heard.
All right, well, April's husband, Draper, is the head of that investigation. He's going around trying to find the names of all those people who had their faces changed, and he wants to know the reasons. Now, doesn't that worry you a little bit?
But I appreciate your concern.
Well, I just thought I would see if Draper was onto anything.
Well, I can tell you the answer to that. If Draper is looking for records of Dr. Bryson, he's not going to find any because Dr. Bryson never kept any records. All the patients were given were numbers, and that's all. There were no photographs around, or if there were any that were taken for surgical reasons, they were all carefully destroyed after the procedure. And he did not allow any photographs to be taken afterwards.
I'm sure that disappointed his daughter. She was a photographer.
Oh, is that the reason that you went to see Valerie? Because you were concerned that she might know our little secret?
The reason I went to see Valerie is because April told me she was in love with Lieutenant Diedrichson, and that was you.
Well, that's another thing that you don't have to worry about, because as far as she was concerned, I was just a fantasy figure. I was the war hero coming home to get his face fixed so he could rejoin the human race.
Oh, how romantic.
It was a way to pass the time, Raven.
Okay. Okay. Just don't pass any more time with her.
I have no intention of doing that. When I saw her walk through that door the day before we got married, I was not pleased.
I'm sure you were shocked.
But she had no idea why I reacted the way I did. Or maybe she thought it was because, you see, she had been with the original Sky in Switzerland.
Do you suppose they slept together?
I don't know. According to him, no woman could resist his charms.
Oh.
Pig.
But the only thing you were concerned about was Lucerne, and whether or not she recognized you as Diedrichson.
She didn't. Not even a glimmer.
What about your voice?
I changed it slightly, and the bandages helped.
Weren't you concerned? Wait a minute. You were concerned. You offered her a job. You tried to get her to leave the country by having one of your companies offer her a job abroad.
Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Well, that was a wonderful idea. I wish you would have accepted it. I just assumed she weren't in this country. I think she's a little too cute for her own good.
You don't have anything to worry about. There is nothing that's going to come between us. It's much too important to me.
To us.
Oh, it feels so good to have you by my side, to have someone that I can share my secret with, share my life.
It's going to be one big wild adventure.
Sometimes it is a bit too adventurous.
What do you mean? Is there a problem? What's wrong?
No, nothing I can't handle.
No, Raven. Despite the many years I lived in this house, it is no longer mine.
That is ridiculous. It's called the Whitney Mansion, isn't it? And even though your name is Saxon, you're still a Whitney. And I can still see Gordon Whitney's portrait hanging up here.
No. It's your house now, yours and Skylar's. You have to create your own ambience in this house. Fill it with your own memories.
That's true. We do have to fill it with ourselves.
And of course that takes time. A house needs aging like good wine or a good marriage.
Our marriage is ageless. It's always going to stay young.
Well, that's a worthy ambition.
It's not an ambition. It's determination. I'm always going to be young, and so is Scott. Maybe I can even get my picture to age instead of me like what's his name?
Dorian Gray.
Right. I don't want to change. I want everything to stay exactly the way it is.
Here's your tea, Mrs. Whitney.
Thank you. Mrs. Saxon would like 1 cup, and then she's going to go straight to bed.
Oh, all right, Raven. I'll climb into bed, and then after a few days, thank you, when I'm feeling stronger, I'll climb out of bed and go back to my own home where I belong.
We'll see about that. No, thank you. That will be all, Chrissy.
Oh. Yes, ma'am.
Now, tell me what it is about the Bryson girl you dislike so much. Frankly, I find her quite charming.
Oh, she is charming. She hides what she's really like. And as for that nonsense about her being innocent of her father's crimes, I don't believe that for a second.
Kelly tells me that she knew absolutely nothing about her father's practices. Now, Mike and Nancy are of that same opinion.
They are all blind. She spent months in her father's clinic at Lucerne. Of course she knew what was going on.
Apparently, very few people did. After all, it took years to apprehend Dr. Bryson.
Well, she did know a few of her father's patients only too well.
And what is that supposed to mean?
She was madly in love with one of them. Didn't you hear that story?
No, I did not.
Well, it's true. She was carrying on with one.
Oh, how I dislike phrases like carrying on.
Well, call it what you like. He was a veteran. He had a total facial reconstruction, and she was mad for him.
And what do you mean by,
I was just wondering if Kelly knew.
Now, Raven, you mustn't start spreading ugly gossip. Kelly is very fond of that girl.
Well, don't you think that's all the more reason that he should know about Lieutenant Diedrichson?
I was really very touched, Raven. Skylar was so kind.
Oh, he's a sweetheart, didn't you know that?
Still, he made me feel so welcome here. I must admit I was a bit concerned, since the invitation did come from you alone.
Well, it was his idea, too. Look, you just have to forget about that little brat you used to know, the old Sky Whitney. This is a brand new version.
Still, I felt a little guilty about intruding on you two newlyweds.
Oh, but you're helping our marriage. That man of mine leaves here at the crack of dawn. He doesn't come home till 8 or 9 o'clock. Believe me, I'm glad you're here.
Yes, he did say he was appreciative to have me around to keep you company. But you should be with young friends, too, Raven. There was a time when you were so close to April Scott.
Well, she went abroad. She'll probably have her baby overseas. And I'll have no one to talk to and no one to get advice from.
When we were living together, you never seemed very interested in my advice.
Well, I always wanted to hear it.
As opposed to following it.
Come on, you've always been more of a mother to me than Nadine. I need you here, I really do. Now that I'm married, I have so many more decisions to make. As a matter of fact, I have a very important decision to make right now.
And what would that be?
Please help me with this. Say you will.
Yeah, I'll do anything I can to help.
I can't make up my mind. I just don't know
which car I want to buy. I don't know if I want the Mercedes, the Rolls Royce, the Cadillac, or one of these sports cars. Yes, but you can get to know someone. That is, if the person is trusting enough to be completely honest with you.
If anyone ever is completely honest.
My husband is with me. You wouldn't believe some of the things he's told me. Well, I mean, we've just gotten very close lately, you know? We understand each other.
I'm glad to hear that.
We're just alike. He wants exactly what I want.
And apparently he has everything you want and more.
Yes, that's right. And that's exactly why this is going to be the most wonderful marriage I have ever had. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine. I don't have to ask how you are. You look terrific.
I just had a real nice talk with Geraldine. Gunther, could you go get me some coffee? No, I don't want coffee. It's too late. How about some hot chocolate and cake?
Yes, Mrs. Whitney. I'll have Chrissy make up a tray for you.
So, how is dear old Aunt Geraldine?
Well, she looks pretty good. I think she should be up and about by tomorrow. Isn't she amazing?
Yes. Well, women are amazing. They're always surprising.
Well, I hope this doesn't surprise you too much, but guess what we were talking about?
Me?
Well, about us and about her and about the house and... Sky, how would you feel if Geraldine lived with us? I mean, all the time?
Well, you know how I feel about Geraldine. I mean, I adore her, but Raven, you are the mistress of the house.
Well, you know how I feel about her. I lived in this house with her for years when I first came to Monticello, and she was wonderful to me. She was more maternal to me than my own mother.
Well, actually, you don't have to argue too hard, Raven, because I've had the same idea.
You have?
Mm-hmm. I've thought about you being here at home and me being gone so much, and, well, I know that you love shopping and going out to lunch with the girls and things, but you can only do that so much, and I was concerned about you being here alone.
You do understand. And I would love to have Geraldine around here. I mean, she's so level-headed, and you know me, I need somebody like that around.
Have you spoken to her about it yet?
Well, not yet, but if you agree to it, I'll tell her first thing tomorrow morning.
I've got a better idea. Why don't we both talk to her about it? That way she'll know that we both mean it.
You are wonderful. Guess what I've been telling her about you?
What?
Well, that you're wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But also that she should just forget about the Sky that she used to know because you're much better than the old Sky Whitney. Oh, I forgot. I'm supposed to just call you darling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gunther?
Oh, hello, Mrs. Whitney. I wasn't expecting you until later this evening.
I came home to change. What are you all dressed up for?
Oh, just relaxing a little bit, that's all.
You look like you're relaxing. What is this?
Oh, that's a little drink that, Chrissy had this pineapple that she used for a dessert, and then she hollowed it out so I could have a little coconut drink. I just love coconut drinks.
A lot of rum, right?
Mm. Listen, can I get you anything, Mrs. Whitney?
Oh, well, sure. Why don't you get me one of those in the bathtub?
Bathtub?
I'm just kidding. What are you doing? Trying to get in the mood, or are you going on a vacation?
As a matter of fact, Mr. Whitney, he suggested that maybe I should take the time and take a couple of weeks. You know, I've always been crazy about the islands.
Oh, Mr. Whitney and I were going to go here on our honeymoon, but we decided not to. You know, it's done so often.
Well, not by me, Mrs. Whitney.
Mr. Whitney and I are going to go to the Alps on our second honeymoon. Isn't that wonderful?
To each his own.
Well, have a nice time.
Yes, well, thank you, Mrs. Whitney.
This is very interesting, and she never even saw his face.
No. It is fascinating, isn't it? My editor thought so, too. People like love stories, but if there's an element of mystery in it, it makes it all the more exciting.
Do you think she was really telling the truth? I mean, I met Valerie Bryson once, and you know, she seemed the sort of girl that likes to romanticize.
No, I'm sure there's no doubt about it at all. I believe she was telling the truth.
Oh, well, I'm sure she met this patient. It's just that, well, how could there have been any romance? I mean, look at his condition.
Well, romance takes on many forms.
But his face is wrapped in bandages. I mean, they couldn't even kiss.
Well, that doesn't mean that they couldn't feel something for each other.
Well, I think it was just on her side. I mean, she was only 18. When you're 18, you know, you tend to fantasize a lot.
I don't think there's any doubt about her feelings. And as far as Jim Diedrichson is concerned, well, I don't see how he could have resisted her. I mean, she's such a pretty girl. She's a charming young lady, don't you think so?
You're an investigative reporter. Why would you want to write a trite little story like this?
Well, it's because of her father. Dr. Bryson wrote some numbers in the corner of a letter that he had left for her just before he died.
What kind of numbers?
Well, at first we thought it was a bank account, but then we discovered that they were the numbers for, you know, a patient's identity.
You mean Diedrichson?
Yes. And so we thought that the only reason he might have made these numbers known to Valerie is to indicate that possibly this Diedrichson was somewhere nearby.
That's fascinating. I'll have to finish this article. I'll buy a paper on the way home.
Oh, please, take that one.
Oh, may I?
Surely.
Yes, I think that my husband would be very interested in this article.
How the hell did that story get into print?
I guess Valerie Bryson felt the need for a little attention. So she went running to Nancy Carr, who thought that the story was so touching, the whole world should know about your affair.
Yeah, but where did this photograph come from? That's what I want to know.
Well, I think your little friend studied under the paparazzi school of photojournalism.
Well, it's just a photograph of a man in bandages. It doesn't identify him in any way. It could be anybody.
Well, read it, darling, and have your hanky ready for the tears, because it is so romantic.
Oh, come on, Brady.
Romeo and Juliet would seem like casual acquaintances next to you.
Well, you know what this is. It's just newspaper hype. They use it to sell newspapers. It doesn't mean a thing.
Oh, please, read it. See how cultured you are.
Shakespeare, Keats, Shelley. Well, it is true. I read quite a bit to pass the time when I was there.
Is that how you put the make on Valerie Bryson?
Oh, Raven, come on. I was stuck in a hospital for 2 months. Valerie Bryson was a diversion for me, nothing more.
Well, I'm not worried,
Oh, you've got no reason to.
but I am worried about our secret. Listen to this. Valerie Bryson last saw her faceless lieutenant some 3 years ago. 2 weeks after they said goodbye, the bandages that prevented her from seeing his face were removed. But to this day, she has no idea what face appeared. But now, there is a glimmer of hope that she will see Jim Diedrichson again face to face, if the speculation proves true that the ex-soldier is residing somewhere in the vicinity of Monticello. Now, why would they think that?
I don't know.
I think they want to find Jim Diedrichson. And if they want to find him, they just might find Jefferson Brown. What if this article starts off some sort of massive manhunt?
Don't worry about it, Angel.
How can you be so calm? Everything could be ruined.
Use your common sense. No one knows what Jim Diedrichson looks like. And you can believe me, he's not about to come forward and announce his presence.
I just hope you covered your tracks.
Jim Diedrichson is someone who is not going to be found. You look at the newspaper tomorrow and it'll be full of other human interest stories. Jim Diedrichson will be old news.
I just hope you're right. So wonderful to see you at this table again. It reminds me of old times.
Just don't overdo it, Geraldine.
I appreciate your concern, Skylar, but I really feel much better.
Would you like some wine now, Mrs. Saxon?
No, thank you, Chrissy. I'm sure one sip would put me on the floor.
Actually, you're not missing all that much, Geraldine. I haven't had a chance to do much with the wine cellar.
Oh, I remember the old wine cellar. They say it was the finest in Monticello.
Oh, poor Gordon. It took him years to stock that cellar, and then his doctors forbade him to drink. Life is full of ironies.
I don't care what you say. This house is as much yours as it is ours.
Oh, that's nonsense, my dear. Of course this is your house. And I intend to leave you in peace just as soon as I regain my strength.
Raven?
Yes, Geraldine, we were going to ask you earlier, but we had appointments. Skylar and I want to know if you would like to live with us permanently.
You can't be serious.
We are. It would be wonderful for all of us. Except maybe you, because now you'll have to put up with 2 spoiled children.
Actually, Geraldine, it would be very kind of you to accept our offer.
Skylar, that's ridiculous. I couldn't possibly.
When I said it would be a blessing to have you with us, it would particularly be a blessing for Raven. She's here alone so much with me gone, and, well, you might act as a maternal instinct or type that would keep her from, I don't know, traveling off into outer space or something.
I'm very touched by your offer, but I...
Oh, please say you will, or at least say you'll think about it.
Of course, I'll think about it. It's the least I can do.
Well, thank you, Geraldine. We'd appreciate that.
I know you're going to say yes. I know you will. And I think that in order to celebrate, we should have something a little better than this wine. Chrissy, would you have Gunther bring a bottle of champagne?
Gunther isn't here, Mrs. Whitney.
That's right. He went to the dentist, didn't he?
Shall I serve dessert in here too, Mrs. Whitney?
Not for me, thank you.
No, for me, Chrissy, thank you. It was a wonderful dinner, but all I can manage right now is a little coffee.
Well, I won't disappoint you. I would like a big fat piece of cheesecake.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Geraldine, I don't want you being too generous with your company. If you get tired, thank you. I want you to ride up to bed. This is your first day on your feet, remember?
Thank you. Now, Skylar, I really feel very well. The effects of a good dinner, I have no doubt.
I bet there's another reason. I think it's because you've decided you don't want to live alone anymore, and you're going to take us up on our offer.
I hope that's true, Geraldine, is it?
Now, my dears, listen to me. It isn't that I wouldn't enjoy living here with you. As Raven knows, I hate the solitary life. I suppose if I were a different sort of person, I'd have 11 cats, 3 dogs, and a parakeet. But it's the human company I crave.
Well, we're human, I think.
Oh, well, perhaps that's the reason that you're hesitating, Geraldine. Is it because you know how difficult we can be?
Oh, that's nonsense. After all, you are my entire family right now.
Yes, that's true.
I regard Raven as my family, too. Why, she's like my own daughter. She's a spoiled, impossible, incorrigible child, but mine own.
I think you're weakening.
I hope so. Have you decided?
Yeah. To be truthful, I think I knew the answer to your question the moment you asked it.
I knew it.
Oh, I tried to think of all kinds of objections, but not too many. Not so many that I couldn't say thank you. I'd be very happy to live in this house again. And very happy to be part of a family again.
So what would you like to do now? How about a game of poker?
Now tell me, is your desire for fun and games designed to keep me occupied or you?
Well, both of us, I guess.
Well, I'm sorry, my dear, but I give up.
Oh, are you feeling all right?
No, I'm fine. I'm just tired.
I'm sorry. I've kept you up late.
No, that's nonsense. I wanted to be with you. I'm just getting tired, that's all.
No, I should have insisted a long time ago that you go to bed.
I know my limitations. All I need is a good night's rest.
All right, then. Go to bed.
Since you put it that way.
Why, darling, you're home.
I'm sorry I had to be gone so long, darling. Geraldine?
Skylar, I'm very glad you arrived when you did. Now I can go to bed with clear conscience.
Oh, I trust you enjoyed the evening?
Oh, Geraldine is the best company.
Now, Raven, be truthful. The very best company you could have has just arrived home.
All right. So, you're a close second.
I'll settle for that. In the meantime, I'm going to bed. So to all, a good night.
All right, if there's anything you need, you just tell me.
Good night, Geraldine. And I want to tell you that I'm very, very pleased that you've decided to stay with us.
Thank you, Skylar. Well, good night.
Good night.
Hey,
Alone at last.
I'm sorry that I was gone so long, but it was unavoidable.
Well, you look as if you had a very successful business meeting.
Well, why do you say that?
Why, you look triumphant.
Well, as a matter of fact, things turned out pretty well. As a matter of fact, I resolved more than just one problem tonight. How was your bath?
Very bubbly and very relaxing. You should have taken one, too.
Maybe next time.
Are you feeling all right?
Yeah, sure. Why do you ask?
You look kind of strange.
Yeah, well, I feel drained.
The business meeting?
Yeah. Yeah, that was it. It took a lot out of me.
Poor baby. It's just that it's all caught up with you, you know, all the tension of the past few weeks.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been all fun and games.
I can just imagine what's been going on in your mind.
And I was trying to figure out what was going on in your mind.
Well, you should have told me yourself, even before the wedding. You would have saved yourself a lot of grief. I mean, you should have known I would understand.
Yeah, I should have.
And then there was the burglary. You come home and you find some stranger with a gun in your house.
I'd be very happy if I never see another gun in the rest of my life.
You were so brave. You're not just my husband, you're my hero. Oh, and then that stupid story about Valerie Bryson.
Forget it. I never want to hear about that article again.
Well, nothing will come of it. Because Lieutenant Diedrichson will never show up. Because I know where he is. And I'm going to keep him all to myself. You know what?
What?
I'm a trigamist.
A what?
A trigamist. It's a step better than a bigamist. I married the 3 men at the same time. Skylar Whitney, Jefferson Brown, and Lieutenant Diedrichson.
You can forget about those last two.
All right, I will.
It is so good to be able to share my life with you.
You can tell me anything, you know. Anything. You will, won't you?
Of course I will.
That doesn't mean I have to tell you everything.
What is this, a double standard or something? Like you...
Yes. I'll let Gunther get it.
Gunther's not here, remember?
All right. I'll get it. I don't want you talking to some businessman about stocks and bonds all night. Hello?
Raven. Mrs. Whitney, hello.
Hello, who is this?
This is Damien Tyler. I'm sorry to bother you so late in the evening.
What can I do for you, detective?
Is your husband at home?
Yes, he is.
Could you put him on the line, please?
Just a minute. Damien Tyler. I'll be right back.
Yes. Detective, what can I do for you?
Mr. Whitney, I'm afraid I have some bad news for you.
Well, what happened?
Your man, Gunther, was involved in a little altercation at the Wiley Dance Studio earlier this evening.
Oh, well, look, if he's been arrested again, if this is about putting up bail for him, I've had just about enough of this.
He's been shot, Mr. Whitney.
Oh, God. How could it have happened?
Look, I'm at the Wiley Dance Studio. I want you to come down here right now. I'll explain things to you as soon as you get here.
Yeah, of course. How is he?
Well, Gunther's dead, Mr. Whitney.
Well, I'll be right there.
Please, please, just let me go with you to the studio. I don't want to stay here alone.
Well, you're not going to be here alone. You've got Aunt Geraldine to take care of you now, remember?
But I want to be with you, Sky. It's not going to be a very nice ordeal.
Yeah, well, ordeal is the right word for it. And I want to spare you that.
Well, how did it happen? I mean, what did Gunther do to Gavin that was so terrible he had to shoot him?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they weren't exactly friends. Gunther could be a bully at times, and Gavin is emotionally immature all the time. I don't know. It was a bad combination, apparently.
So he just killed him.
I guess I should have believed Gavin when he said he had that gun. I thought he was just trying to scare Gunther off. But apparently he meant every word. He had a gun, and he was willing to use it. And now no more Gunther.
Yes?
Reagan, may I come in?
Oh, yes, please. I was just going to go to your bedroom, but I thought you might be asleep.
No, I couldn't sleep, unfortunately. There's altogether too much activity in this house. I heard a car pull out of the driveway. I assumed it was Schuyler's.
Yes, it was. He just went to the scene of a murder.
What?
Isn't it incredible? 2 killings in 2 weeks. First this burglar, and now Gunther.
Gunther?
It's unbelievable. He was shot and killed. We don't know why.
But, Raven, you should have told me. You shouldn't be alone now.
Well, I didn't want to go wake you up. You were so tired. And I wanted to go with Sky, but he wouldn't let me.
Where did he go?
He went to the dance studio. That's where it happened. He was shot and killed by the owner of the dance studio, Gavin Wiley.
Gavin Wiley?
I know. It's incredible. No one would expect Gavin Wiley to be a murderer, but he shot and killed Gunther.
Raven, this is dreadful. What happened? How? Why? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. The two despised each other. That's what Sky said. So Gavin shot and killed him.
Now listen to me, my dear. Take my advice. Try and get some sleep. Perhaps in the morning things won't be as gloomy as they seem now.
Okay. I better hang up Sky's tux. He's about as good at that as I am.
Well, that's a change. If there's one thing I remember about Schuyler as a child, it was that he was terribly fastidious. Everything had to be in place.
He's changed. What's this? It's the watch I gave him. Can't believe he just lets it hang loose in his pocket. Schuyler is getting awfully careless. So, did this reporter write this out of context, or did he make it up, or what?
No, that story is accurate.
You made some pretty serious accusations against Dr. Kavanaugh.
I only told the truth. Kavanaugh just stood by and watched while Gunther bled to death.
I think you left yourself wide open for a slander suit.
Oh, that's liable, dear. Slander refers to the spoken word.
Whatever. I mean, you practically charged him with malpractice, or worse.
It was worse, Raven. Far worse. It was practically a conspiracy to murder.
You actually believe that?
Look, Gavin started the job by shooting Gunther, and Kavanaugh finished it by refusing to give him medical help.
So you don't believe his story that he was hit on the head and rendered unconscious?
That's a lie. I mean, he just used that to keep himself from being implicated.
I just hope you don't get sued.
I doubt if it'll come to that. And if it does, Kavanaugh will find himself in a lot deeper than he is already.
Well, I hate to sound insensitive, but what are you going to do about Gunther?
I'll manage.
You relied on Gunther. You hate to drive. You hate to mix your own drinks.
I've got no doubt that I'll be able to find someone to fill his rather large boots.
You also have to find someone to fill Jody Travis's rather large ballet slippers.
I'm not so sure about that.
Well, I thought she took her tutu and took off.
Well, you see, Jody is a very young and sensitive girl, and now that Gavin Wiley has got his own problems, she may just be willing to reconsider.
Even after everything that's happened?
You know, I'm being very inconsiderate. I really ought to give that young girl a call and offer my condolences.
Your wifey doesn't like to be ignored.
Well, wifey won't be ignored for very long.
Are you all right?
Yeah, my nerves are shot. I just need a drink.
You've been through a lot.
Yeah, well, 2 murders in the last 2 weeks does tend to frazzle my nerves. Have you invited any of your friends over for dinner and not tell me about it?
No, I didn't invite anyone.
All right, well, let me go find out who it is and get rid of them pronto. Excuse me.
Hello, Mr. Whitney. Glad I caught you in.
Oh, this is your lucky night. What can I do for you, Detective?
I'd like to ask you a few questions, if it's not an imposition.
Yeah, all right, let's get on with it. Why don't you just come on in?
Hello, Mrs. Whitney.
Hello, Damien. Gee, you come over here so often, maybe you'd like to rent a room?
That's a tempting proposition.
Do you mind if we just get on with this here?
Well, you brought some new information to light today, Mr. Whitney. I'd like to hear a little more about it.
Well, I've got nothing to add to what's in that article.
Can you support these allegations that you made against Dr. Kavanaugh?
Oh, look, Tyler, Kavanaugh stood and watched while a very trusted employee of mine just bled to death.
Oh, come on. You don't really believe that?
You know, I've opened up myself for a libel suit, Tyler. Do you think Kavanaugh is going to come by and pick up the gauntlet? Well, I don't. And if he doesn't, what does that tell you?
Not much. I doubt that Dr. Kavanaugh will bother to answer the charge.
You know, even my wife knew about the animosity that existed between Gunther and Kavanaugh. I mean, you've seen the bad blood between them, haven't you?
I have. I'm gonna go see Chrissy about dinner. I'll be back.
But don't you eat dinner, Tyler?
Mr. Whitney, what do you stand to gain from this public accusation?
Nothing. I just don't like the idea of a criminal going unpunished.
Like Gavin Wiley?
I've got a lot more compassion for Gavin Wiley than I do for Kavanaugh. Wiley's just a hot-headed kid. Kavanaugh's supposed to be a healer, not a killer.
You sound like a very vindictive man to me, Mr. Whitney.
Well, you know, I'll tell you something, Detective. I don't have to answer any of your questions, so why don't you just leave before I lose my appetite for that dinner, huh?
All right. We'll drop the subject. Maybe we can discuss another topic at a later time.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Like a plane crash in the Alps.
Keep the home fires burning, dear. I'm only going to be gone for a few minutes.
Oh, Sky, please stay and have a little cup of coffee with your wife.
Okay. But the sooner I get down to police headquarters and sign these statements, the better I'm going to like it.
Just don't make any more accusations against Miles Kavanaugh, all right?
No, I'm not going to. I mean, despite the fact that I'm certain that he is responsible for Gunther's death, I can't prove it. This affidavit I'm signing is about Gunther's whereabouts before he was killed.
Well, I would just like the whole incident to be put to rest along with Gunther as soon as possible.
Well, actually, that newspaper story should punish Kavanaugh pretty well. It'll keep his waiting room from being real filled with people.
You really hate him, don't you?
Well, personally, I can take him or leave him, but Gunther detested the man, and I consider this to be a testimonial to a loyal employee.
Well, we are also going to have to find a replacement for Gunther, and I would like someone with a little more social grace, so I think that I shall screen some people since you're so busy.
Yeah, all right, as long as I get final approval.
Sure. Would you like me to get that so you can leave?
No, it's none of your friends. They don't get up before noon. Hello. Martine, this is a surprise.
I called earlier. Your husband is expecting me.
Oh, yes, he told me you were coming. Please come in.
Oh, I don't want to be in your way.
Oh, no, it's all right. Please join me in the living room.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry it took me so long to answer the door, but my maid Chrissy is off, and of course, you know what happened to Gunther.
Yes, I do know, and I'm sick about it.
Oh, were you and Gunther close?
The distress I feel has to do with Gavin Wiley.
Oh, yes. I'm sure it was a shock to spend so much time with that man and then find out that you were in love with a potential murderer. I mean, it's a good thing that you didn't have any serious arguments with him.
If Gavin did kill that swine Gunther, I suppose he deserved it.
Is that why you came to see my husband? Do you want him to hire a lawyer for Gavin?
No. I'm here to see your husband on a business matter.
Oh, well, then maybe I can save you some time. I mean, I am his wife, and I take an active part in all his business affairs.
No, it's all right. I want to talk to him personally, if you don't mind. I'll come back.
Oh, no, he should be home in a few minutes.
Oh, in that case, I'll wait just 1 minute.
Okay. So, would you like to see the house? I could give you a tour.
Oh, no, thank you. I think I saw quite enough of it at your wedding.
Oh, the wedding. Oh, what a party. It's too bad you can't have a party like that every night, you know. It was so wonderful, wasn't it?
Yes?
And the honeymoon was great, too. We didn't sleep very much, but it was great.
I'm happy for you.
The only problem was the honeymoon wasn't long enough. But my husband was very busy. But he promised me that he would take me to the Alps for a second honeymoon.
How nice.
Yeah. Oh, we're so happy. My husband is so good to me. You know, there's a big difference between being a man's wife and being his mistress.
I think the minute is over.
Hi, baby.
Hello, dear. Hello, Martine. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Sky, you just saved me from another trip.
Well, I'm sorry. I was at a business meeting. It couldn't be helped.
Some people never change.
So what can I do for you? Oh, would you like some coffee while we talk?
No, I'd like to get right to the point, if I may.
Of course.
Sky, are you in a business and in a market for a lead dancer?
Martine, are you serious? You'd be willing to come back to the Whitney Dance Company?
Sky, I'm a dancer, and I want to dance again very much.
Some people have no pride.
Raven, please.
Sky, she quit on you. Now she's begging her way back here. Are you so hard up for a job?
I am not after a job. I'm offering my services. As for money, I have no complaints. Fashion modeling pays very well.
Yes, I've seen some of the ads that you've done. You've looked very lovely.
Thank you. Considering that my fees have averaged about $1,000 a week, I haven't been starving.
If you're pulling down $1,000 a week now, you're going to have to take a cut if you go back to work for me.
Yes, I do know that. I also know that Jodie Travis has left the company, and you haven't replaced her.
Yes, that's true, and opening is upon us.
No, I'm still familiar with the routines, and I learn fast.
You know, Martine, this might be just what the company needed. I wouldn't even have to postpone opening.
Sky?
I'd be very happy to have you come back to the company, Martin.
Sky, do you really think that's the wisest choice?
Raven, it would be the solution to all my problems.
Don't you think you should consider this a little longer?
There is nothing to consider. I'd be happy to have you join the company, Martin.
I'll live up all your expectations, I promise.
Well, when can you begin rehearsing?
Immediately.
Great.
Well, I'm sorry, but I have a shooting and I'm late, and I don't want to lose my $1,000. Goodbye, Sky.
How can you do this? Why would you even want to get involved with that tart again? I mean, I know you two used to live together. I certainly haven't forgotten that.
Raven, will you please realize that there is nothing personal in this? Martine is a dancer. Martine is a very good dancer. She was originally going to be the star of the dance company. The only reason I went hunting for another was because she decided to leave.
I thought you told me you fired her.
Well, let's just say it was a mutual decision. And besides, there is another difference. I am a happily married man now, remember?
What if she thinks you're bored with me? You have been married a whole month.
Oh, now I get it. Now I know why you're angry. You think that I've forgotten our anniversary, haven't you? Hmm? Well, just take a look at this. Well, open it.
Oh, Sky. The topaz that we were looking at in the window.
Mm-hmm.
That proves it.
Proves what?
It proves you're up to something. You bring me this present because you want me to be a good little girl and not give you grief about Martine. Well, it's not going to work. And not only that, you don't get this back.
Raven, it is the perfect solution. With Jody gone, I'd have to postpone the opening for months. I mean, people are beginning to think that the whole dance company's been canceled. With Martine as my principal dancer, I can open on schedule.
You're crazy. That's impossible.
No, it's not. Martine knows most of the dancers. There's just a few that we wrote for Jody, but we can work around that. She knows the dancers. She's worked with them before. She's continued to stay in shape. She's trim.
Oh, is that why she always looks like these?
Raven, she can do it for me. She can make it possible for me not to have to go to the reporters and say that I've got another postponement to make. I'm being practical, that's all.
Well, I'm being practical, too.
You know, this jealousy of yours is very flattering. It really turns me on, but if there was anybody who should be jealous around here, it should be me.
Why?
I had a meeting this afternoon with an admirer of yours.
Who?
Damien Tyler. Our local beefcake detective. You know, he's got a crush on him.
He does?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, tell me more. What was this meeting about? Skylar, I asked you a question.
Well, he wanted to know about Jeff Brown. So that's the reason he was dogging my steps. At first, I thought it was because he was interested in Collier Wells.
Oh, that's Martine's burglar husband?
Yeah. He tried to rob me when I was in Paris, and Tyler was there, and he took an interest in the case. For some reason, he also took an interest in me. He was asking me questions about Paris and about Collier Wells and about Martine.
But what did he want from you?
Raven, he knows that I was Jefferson Brown's best friend.
So do you think he suspects something?
No. No, he doesn't, but, there's something about Jeff Brown that he thinks that I know, that he wants to find out.
And you don't know what it is?
No, I don't. But I do know one thing. He did not have the slightest inkling that he was not looking at Skylar Whitney.
Did you ever meet Damien Tyler in Washington?
No, you know, I didn't recognize the name at all, but there was something vaguely familiar about his face.
I don't know. It worries me. Number one, because he's not stupid. And number two, I think he knows something.
Well, I don't know about the first part. But he does seem to know something. And I intend to find out what it is.
Hey! Well, why'd you stop?
What are you doing here?
Well, look, you said you were going to practice every minute. You know, the big opening is only 2 days away.
What's the matter? Are you afraid I will put your husband down?
Well, of course not. I know you would never do anything like that.
Your confidence in me makes me feel so much better.
Look, Martine, I don't mind that you're in my husband's company.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
I just don't want to see you in his company, if you understand what I mean.
Put your insecurities to rest, Mrs. Whitney. Your husband has no attraction for me.
Maybe. But I know your type. You don't like to be without a man.
You are very boring, and you are wasting my time.
Let's see. You don't have Gavin. You don't have Sky anymore. So who is the big flame in your life?
I think I have better things to do than discuss my private life with you.
Let me take a guess. Could it be your photographer friend, Carlo Crown?
All right. If you don't leave Mrs. Whitney, I won't be able to practice. And if I don't practice, I won't be the great success you wish for your husband.
He's real attractive, isn't he?
All right. I will be doing stretching exercises in my dressing room.
He's also a very good photographer. You know, he took some really beautiful pictures of me. Took some good pictures of the wedding, too.
Just shut the stage door on your way out.
Keep up the good work. Bye. Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to get some pictures taken again. Coincidence.
Mrs. Whitney, what a surprise.
Hi, what are you doing here? Are you going to buy tickets for the opening?
Actually, I was thinking of going.
Well, don't go to the box office. If you want tickets, call me or call my husband.
Well, sure, okay. It's very thoughtful. Well, this is quite an impressive billboard. What you say on the marquee? Whitney Dance Company, featuring Martine Duval. You know, the last time I came by here, Jody Travis' name was in the lights. When did the change take place?
Oh, a couple of days ago.
That's cutting it pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Well, I better be getting back to work. Take care.
Wait a minute. I just wanted to tell you that I'm really happy that you and my husband are getting along.
Where did you hear that?
Well, I know that the two of you had a talk about someone that you both knew.
Jefferson Brown.
Right.
Well, what did your husband tell you about his good buddy, Jeff?
Not much. When he talks about him, he has those memories about the plane crash, and it's painful for him, so I don't bring it up.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. You know, your husband was very fortunate to have survived that plane crash. Jeff Brown wasn't quite so fortunate, was he? Bye, Miss.
Bye. Oh, you look like you're posing for the cover of a romance novel.
Mrs. Whitney, I wasn't expecting you.
I came to see Carlo. Did you lock him in the dark room?
No, he's out scouting locations.
Oh, well, will you give him a message for me?
Certainly.
Would you tell him to call me because I'd like to talk to him?
As soon as he walks through the door.
Thank you. Oh, Kelly, you're a friend of Gavin. Have you heard any new developments?
No, all I know is what I read in the newspapers and see on TV, Mrs. Whitney.
Oh, I bet Gavin is probably basking under the sun in some foreign country by now.
I know Gavin pretty well. I tend to doubt that.
Oh, well, I'm not blaming him. I'd do the same thing if I was wanted for murder. Well, carry on. This dance company is all wrong. Sky should have waited.
What for?
Until he found another dancer other than Martine Duval.
She is a very talented professional.
She detests him.
Well, after all, Raven, you don't have to like someone to work with him. I mean, it's a help, but it's not mandatory.
She'd stab him in the back in a minute.
Do I get the idea that you might be slightly worried about Miss Duval?
What do you mean?
Well, after all, she was Schuyler's lady friend all that time.
Do you think I'm jealous?
It had crossed my mind.
I'm twice the woman that Martine is, and Sky knows it.
Well, it's nice to know that you're not burdened with insecurity.
Besides, I think that she's having a thing with that photographer friend of hers.
Carlo Crown, you mean?
Yes. I wonder if
Carla knows about Martine and Sky. Or about her other numerous tacky affairs, no doubt. I think perhaps if he knew more about the woman he was getting involved with, he might change his mind about her.
Now, Raven, I can see all those little wheels turning again. Please be careful.
Hello?
Mrs. Whitney, is that you?
Yes, it is. Who's this?
Carlo Crown. I have a message from my assistant that you were here this afternoon. I'm sorry I was unavailable.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. I'm so glad that you called so quickly.
Well, I'm at your service. What can I do for you?
I would like to talk to you, and it's very important. So, do you think that we could meet for a drink this afternoon?
And pardons, Mrs. Whitney. I hope I haven't kept you waiting too long.
I thought you forgot me.
That would be impossible. How could I ever forget the woman responsible for my start in this town?
Did I do that?
Absolutely, you and you alone.
Oh, when I hired you to be my photographer for the wedding?
No, even before that. It was the pictures I took of you in Miss Darwin's dress salon that gave me the reputation of being a photographer of beautiful women.
Well, I'm glad I could be of help.
I shall be forever grateful to you.
I hear that you lost your most popular model.
Yes. Don't tell me. You plan to come to my rescue.
What?
We're here because you want to work as my model.
No,
I think it's a marvelous idea.
Oh, no. The thought never crossed my mind.
I think you'd be sensational.
Well, you know, I did have a lot of fun when we had that
God
other
knows
shooting.
you don't need the money, Mrs. Whitney, but you would do me a tremendous favor if you would give the idea some serious consideration.
Well, it would be a pretty tough act to follow.
Maybe.
I bet you're really disappointed that Martine left.
I don't begrudge her this chance to return to the stage. You know that dancing is her first love. She has my blessing.
I get the idea that your interest is personal as well as professional. Is that right?
I make it a practice to fall in love with all my models.
Oh, naughtier than I thought.
Sometimes.
Did you know about Martine and my husband?
What about them?
Well, they had a thing not too long ago. They lived together. And quite frankly, I get the impression that the reason Martine took this job is so she could be close to my husband again. What do you think of that? It's just that I don't want to see you fall in love with someone and then be played for the fool.
You have nothing to be concerned about. Martine and I communicate rather well, and I know all about her relationship with your husband before your marriage.
You do?
Yes. I don't think Martine has any designs on your husband, Mrs. Whitney. Your husband is no fool, and I think the man would have to be just that to so much as look at any woman other than his charming and beautiful wife.
You do have a way with words, Mr. Crown.
I'll be right with you, Kelly. Just a minute. Hello, Mrs. Whitney.
Hello.
Well, I must have done something right to be lucky enough to encounter you twice in one day.
If you've come here to check on any gambling that might be going on in the back room, I know nothing about it.
Oh, you can relax. Actually, I'm just here for dinner.
Oh, do you know Mr. Crown?
Sure. Nice to see you again,
Same
Mr.
here,
Crown.
Detective.
We were just talking about Martine and how wonderful it is that she's going to be back in the dance company.
Well, I guess show business gain is your loss, Mr. Crown. You must be unhappy about losing your best model.
You should have been here a moment ago. I was explaining to Mrs. Whitney that Martine is anxious about getting back on stage, and she has my blessing.
Well, that's very unselfish of you.
You know, as a matter of fact, I am anxious to see Martine on stage again myself.
Oh, really? Well, I'm sure she appreciates your attitude. Well, I certainly don't mean to intrude upon your conversation anymore. I just wanted to say hello.
Have a nice dinner.
I am so nervous my hands won't work properly. Will you please come over and do this for me?
Raven, will you relax? It is not you who is going on stage tonight, you know.
Don't you dare speak to me in that calm tone of voice. I can hear your heart beating boom, boom, boom from here. You're as nervous as I am.
Well, that's not unnatural, is it? I mean, it is my name that's on the theater. It's my dance company, and I've been waiting a long time for this moment. I just want it to be as good as it should be.
Mm-hmm. I know why you're so nervous. It's because of your star, the great Martine Duval. You're afraid she's not going to be as great as you thought she was.
Well, she's been great before in Paris. But then she didn't have the setting that I'm giving her tonight. I mean, even a beautiful jewel is more lovely in the proper setting, don't you agree?
Speaking of jewelry, do you think that this will do? Should I wear this one? No, all right. I'll wear this. I want to look as dazzling as possible.
Raven, if you are concerned about being upstaged tonight, you can forget about it. That is why I have arranged for us to have the most conspicuous box, so that everyone can see all the beauty tonight.
You just want everyone to see the two Whitney wonders, both on stage and off?
And what is wrong with that? I'm proud of my lovely wife. I want to show her off.
Well, your lovely wife cannot wear this piece of jewelry. It's all wrong. I have to wear the other one.
Raven, are you going to be trying on jewelry all night long? The opening is an hour from now, and we've already agreed that we're going to make our big entrance while the house lights are still up.
All right. I will wear this one. How about Geraldine? Is she ready yet?
Geraldine has been ready for the past hour.
You haven't told me how beautiful I look.
You look beautiful.
More beautiful than Martine.
My only worry tonight is that no one will be paying attention to what's happening on stage.
But why would a burglar steal all these things and then give them back?
Well, I don't know, but that's exactly what Collier Wells did. He even sent it to Derek Mallory's office for safekeeping.
Well, I'm just glad that they're back in my hands, all my beautiful jewels.
Yeah. And mine. Well, don't you see, darling, he wasn't interested in the value of this stuff. He just wanted to prove some stupid point.
Like what?
He wanted to prove that he could burglarize my house. He tried it once before, remember?
In Paris, right?
Yeah. I bet he'll never forget that night. It was the first time that he was ever caught red-handed.
I'll never forget that night either. I think you let him go because you fell in love with his beautiful wife.
I let him go because it amused me.
Well, I'm sure it amused him to rip us off, too. Sweet revenge.
Yeah, sweet revenge is right. He probably thought it was some sort of, I don't know, poetic justice.
There's nothing just about stealing my jewelry.
Yeah. Well, the circumstances are all the same, don't you see? I mean, Martine was dancing for me in the theater. I was there in the theater. And Collier Wells was here in my house.
So you think he had the whole thing planned?
Oh, I'm sure he did. I mean, he wanted to make sure that I recognized his little scheme. He even called me up on the phone to make sure I'd get his point.
Well, he can have his point, just so I have my jewelry.
That is a nice
Excuse me, Mr. Whitney.
Oh.
I thought this might be a good time to take the car into the garage, unless, of course, you're planning to use it this afternoon.
No, I'm not. That's a good idea, Spencer.
Sky, who is this?
Oh, that's right. Well, you two haven't met. This is Spencer Varney. He's going to be working for us from now on. This is my wife, Mrs. Whitney.
How do you do, Mrs. Whitney?
You know, he's already put himself to good use. You know the green limo, how it's been kind of wobbling? Well, he said it's because
Skylar,
it needs
you know I know nothing about automobile mechanics, nor do I care. I just care that you drive me safely from place to place.
I'm a very good driver, Mrs. Whitney. I'm sure you won't have any complaints. May I take the car, Mr. Whitney?
Yeah, go right ahead, Spencer.
Okay.
I do have a complaint.
Well, what's that?
You hired him without asking me.
Well, we needed a replacement for Gunther.
Well, I thought we decided that we were going to decide on that together, and you just barged right ahead and did it.
Well, you spent all morning in bed.
Well, I was upset that someone stole my jewelry. I didn't want to see anybody.
Look, the moment I saw Spencer, I knew he was just what we needed. And when I saw his references, I knew he was exactly what we needed.
Well, I think he's a cold fish.
Well, he's got to be cool in his line of work. And I don't just mean driving either.
What do you mean?
He's more than just a chauffeur. He's a bodyguard. And people like us need protection.
Let me do that, Mr. Whitney.
Oh, fine. Well, thank you, Spencer. I appreciate a man who takes initiative.
A splash of soda and 2 lumps of ice. That's the way my hubby likes it.
I'll remember that.
Yeah, I believe you will, Spencer. You strike me as someone who's got quite a good memory.
I also know how to forget things, Mr. Whitney. That can be an important quality as well.
Yes, it certainly can.
I'm sure your previous employer admired that about you.
Yeah, I imagine it couldn't have been terribly easy working for your previous employer. What's his name? Bowie. As I understand it, he spent the last 3 years evading extradition on tax evasion charges. Is that correct?
See if that's the way you like it, Mr. Whitney.
That's just fine. Well, is that the reason that he traveled so much?
I believe it was one of the reasons.
Were there others?
I heard he was a crook. No offense, Spence.
I'm sorry, I really don't know.
Well, you just passed your test, Spencer.
Pardon?
Well, you really do forget things, even about former employers.
There's not much point in remembering, Mr. Whitney, when a man is dead.
Oh, that's right. He had a heart attack, didn't he?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, and rumor has it that if he didn't die of a heart attack, someone or some person unknown might have done it for him. As I understand it, he was in trouble with financiers of a particular type. Is that right?
I couldn't say, sir.
Oh, come on, Spencer. Give us a little gossip.
You know, someone like Mr. Bowie would be in need of someone other than just a driver. I'd probably need somebody pretty handy with a gun.
I don't carry a gun, Mr. Whitney.
But you were his bodyguard.
Yes, sir. I was.
Well, you know, Spencer, people of means need protection. That's one of the jobs that our former chauffeur did for us.
Gunther didn't carry a gun.
No, but he was big and strong and intimidating, and that was enough.
Well, would you object to the idea of doing more than just driving?
No, sir. You can count on me for everything.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
And right now, sir, I think I'd better see if the car is ready at the garage. Will you excuse me?
Certainly, Spencer. So, what do you think of my choice?
Oh, he's all right. I still think he's a cold fish, but he's an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, that's strange.
What?
Well, he referred to Gunther by his first name. He also seemed to know that he never carried a gun.
Hello, Mrs. Whitney. Is your husband at home?
Well, if you had called before you came over, I could have told you my husband is at the theater.
Well, even if you had answered, I would have come over anyway. I mean, I wanted to talk to either you or your husband about this robbery.
Oh, I'm just speechless. I mean, just the fact that someone robbed this place despite a $5,000 burglar alarm system, that's bad enough.
Don't blame it on the system. I think your husband was very careless with those identification numbers.
But they returned everything. That's what amazes me. Who ever heard of a burglar that returned everything?
Are you sure nothing is missing? I mean, did you make that inventory list?
Yes, everything's there. So, do you have any leads?
Well, we have some very good ideas.
Well, I hope you catch him. Although, since he returned everything, I guess it doesn't matter, does it?
No, Mrs. Whitney. It does matter.
So you think that the thief was Collier Wells, the same man that robbed my husband in Paris?
When you examine all the facts, it's the only probable explanation. Well, you know the story about the robbery in Paris.
Well, vaguely. I know that Martine and her husband were entertaining for my husband.
Well, Martine was the entertainer. While she was dancing downstairs, her husband was upstairs doing his routine in the bedroom. Unfortunately for him, this time he was careless enough to be caught.
So you think he was doing the same thing here again?
I think he did it as a gesture. I think he just wanted to prove that he could do it. Nothing more.
Oh, you men, you certainly play some silly games.
Well, women have been known to play a few themselves.
Well, anyway, since everything was returned, I guess it really doesn't matter, does it?
I'm sure your jewelry is very important to you.
Yes, yes, some of it has a lot of sentimental value.
Excuse me, Mrs. Whitney. I just wanted to tell you I'm on my way to the theater to pick up Mr. Whitney.
All right. Spencer, this is Damien Tyler. This is Spencer. He's working for us now.
Spencer? Is that a first name or a last name?
It's my first name, sir. My full name is Spencer Varney.
Yes, Spencer is the reason that I don't have to worry about a $5,000 burglar alarm system anymore.
Well, that's quite a responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tyler is also in the protective business, only he works for the Monticello Police Department. He's a detective.
Well, that's quite a responsibility as well, sir. I'd better get started, Mrs. Whitney. It was nice to meet you, Mr. Detective Tyler.
So that's Gunther's replacement?
Mm-hmm. I think he's an improvement, don't you?
Strange.
What?
Well, that man's face looks very familiar. In fact, his name sounds very familiar.
Raven, we have been needing a news director at the station for months now. I just didn't want to bring anyone new in, that's all.
But a newscaster as the boss? That is ridiculous. I mean, I know Nicole Kavanaugh is pretty, but that's where it ends.
Nicole Kavanaugh happens to be the most popular newscaster in the history of WMON, and you must surely know that.
Well, there can't be that much to reading the news.
Oh, my dear, there's much more to that job than you realize.
But does that make her executive material?
Just the same. I have every hope it's going to turn out wonderfully.
Well, what I want to know is why you never think of me when you start handing out these jobs.
You? This is the first time I've ever even heard you mention the idea of working.
Well, why not? It would be fun, especially if the job were glamorous.
Oh, I knew that there must be a condition.
Hello!
Well, good evening. The man of the home is finally here.
Give me a hug, man.
All right, woman.
Skylar.
Oh, I haven't introduced you yet. Please permit me. This is the newest member of our staff, Spencer Varney.
How do you do, Mr. Varney?
This is my Aunt Geraldine, of whom I've told you so much.
I'm Mrs. Saxon.
How do you do, Mrs. Saxon? Please call me Spencer.
I hope you'll be very happy in this household, Spencer.
I'm sure I'll like it just fine, Mrs. Saxon.
Now, why don't you go on and have Chrissy fix you some dinner?
Thank you, sir. I will.
Okay.
It was very nice to have met you, Mrs. Saxon. If there's anything I can do for you at any time, please let me know.
Thank you, Spencer. Well, he's a far different cup of tea than Gunther, isn't he?
Yes, very different.
So, what did you do with your evening aside from miss me terribly?
I amused myself. I had a visitor.
Who was that?
Why, that was Detective Damien Tyler.
What's he doing here? He's got no reason coming over here and bothering you, except for the fact that he likes it.
Perhaps he was just doing his job.
Oh, no, this goes far above and beyond his job, Geraldine. He's got a crush on my wife, didn't you know that?
Skylar?
Oh, it's true. It certainly is. He hopes that sometime he's going to come over here and find a bored housewife ready for a little extracurricular activity.
Yes, well, I think it's time for me to go upstairs and change for dinner, if you'll excuse me.
See you later, Geraldine.
I think I may have shocked Aunt Geraldine.
I love it when you're jealous.
Yeah, well, just don't go out of your way to make me jealous.
You know I never would.
You wouldn't, huh?
No. I love my husband too much to ever look at another man, you know that.
And you know how I feel about you, don't you?
No. Tell me how much you adore me. I love to hear it.
Well, I love you so much I killed a man for you, Raven. Now, what greater expression of love is there than that? I killed for you, and I'd do it again. But now you don't have to worry. We've got other protection.
Which reminds me of something.
What's that?
When Damien met Spencer, before Spencer went to pick you up from the theater, he said something very curious.
What did he say?
He said that he recognized Spencer. From a police lineup, perhaps?
That Tyler never gives up, does he?
Well, I think that I had better go in and see how Chrissy has managed to burn tonight's dinner.
Okay.
Excuse me. Is there anything more I can do before I go upstairs?
No, Spencer, that'll be all. Thanks.
Spencer, there is something that you could do for me.
Yes, Mrs. Whitney.
Have you ever met the man that you met tonight, the police officer?
No, I've never seen him before.
Well, that's funny, because apparently he knows you.
Perhaps, but I'm quite sure I don't know the man.
Oh. Well, I'll see you later.
Now, look here, Hamilton. I am desperate. I've got to find a replacement for Martine Duval immediately. Now, I've already had to cancel performances because of her. Yeah. Right. Well, I know that Cynthia Gregory is busy, and I know that Pavlova is dead, but you're supposed to be the best agent in the business. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to get every other dancer in New York, and I want to look at them. Tomorrow. Look, if she can still breathe and she's under 50, I still may hire her. Tomorrow, Hamilton.
So your star performer has turned out to be a rank amateur. How unprofessional for Martine.
Yeah. If I had my hands on her, I'd... Well, never mind about that. I just got to find a replacement. Tomorrow. Or I could turn the Whitney Theater into a parking garage. Look, I've got to go to New York tonight.
You're not going alone. You're going to take your little wifey with you.
Look, I can't take you with me because it takes you 3.5 weeks to pack one suitcase.
I know exactly what you're going to be doing tomorrow. You're going to be looking at beautiful women all day, and you are not going alone. I am going with you, and that, my dear husband, is that.
Yeah, Bill, this is Mr. Whitney calling. How soon can you have the jet ready to go? Good. All right, listen, I want you to park as close to Hangar 11 as you can, and I'll see you in about an hour. Okay, so long. All set. Well, how did you get packed so soon?
Well, thank Geraldine. She's great at it.
Well, maybe she could give you lessons, huh?
My dear girl, it is simply a matter of making up your mind.
It's something I can never do.
This is all rather sudden, isn't it, this trip to New York?
Yeah, sudden it is, thanks to Martine Duval. I've got to find a replacement. Tomorrow. I'm desperate.
You're not worried about staying here by yourself, are you?
Oh, you don't really have to be. I know that the alarm isn't quite fixed yet, but we'll have Chrissy here, and the new man, Spencer, will be here, too.
No, my dears, I'm not at all concerned. After all, lightning can't strike 3 times. No. This time, whatever happens, I'm going to sleep right through it.
You almost did that the last time. Maybe we should tell her.
That man in there, that man you hired, I think he's a gangster.
Chrissy, why do you say that?
He's carrying a gun.
A gun?
Yes, Mrs. Saxon, I saw it myself.
I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to frighten Chrissy, Mr. Whitney, but I took my jacket off a moment ago in the kitchen without thinking, and she saw the gun.
Enough to scare the life out of a person.
Skylar, for heaven's sake, what is going on here? Why is Spencer carrying a gun?
Okay, please, calm down just a bit. The gun is perfectly legal. Spencer has got a license to carry it. He's here to protect us, this family in this house, at my insistence.
Do you think it's absolutely necessary to turn this house into an arsenal? I know that it was broken into twice, but an armed guard?
It is unfortunate, Geraldine, but it is a cruel world. And if you've got something of value, lives and property to protect, you've got to be willing to protect them. I am. What is all this delay, Bill? I told you I wanted that plane ready when we got here.
It's not that simple, Mr. Whitney. I told you that we need time to file a flight plan.
Well, why haven't you done that already?
Well, with the strike and all, things are taking a little more time.
Look, I don't want to hear any more excuses. Just get us into the air as soon as possible.
Yes, sir. We'll do our best.
Man, why does everything have to go wrong all at once?
What's the hurry now? We don't have to see those dancers until tomorrow morning.
Oh, morning, yeah. Oh, Spencer, come on over here.
Yes, sir.
First thing in the morning, I want you to call both the Monticello newspapers and, well, tell them I'll be making a statement in a couple of days.
All right, I'll take care of that, sir.
Don't answer any questions. Don't tell them where I am or what I'm doing. You got that?
Perfectly clear.
All right, then I'll give you a call in the afternoon and let you know if there's anything else I want you to do.
Oh, there is one other thing you can do. I think you should go home. I'm sure Geraldine and Chrissy are afraid to be alone.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I said, why don't you do that? Go home and reassure the ladies that you're going to protect them, you and that little gift I gave you.
Yes, sir.
Just relax. There's nothing you can do about it, so just be patient.
It costs me $50 grand a year to maintain that private jet. I expect better service than this.
Just think of how nice it's going to be in New York when we get to the honeymoon, sweet.
I told you, Angel, we're not going to have a chance to have a honeymoon. If I don't get a dancer, and right quick, my company is going to have to fold its tent.
Well, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. You shouldn't have hired her in the first place.
Why is it that people who love to say, I told you so, always say, you know, I hate to say this, but I told you so?
I'm sorry, but I'm glad she left.
Well, I thought that little bit of news would give you some pleasure. Same way it gave Detective Tyler pleasure to tell me about it.
You don't like him very much, do you? Is it because he likes me?
There are other reasons.
Such as?
Well, I haven't told you this. It's something that I just found out very recently myself. But Tyler doesn't use his real name.
Which is?
Wilcox. Tyler is his middle name.
Wilcox? Isn't that the name of the man that you worked for in Washington?
Fowler Wilcox was his father.
What a coincidence.
If it is a coincidence.
Did he tell you that?
No, no. Geraldine did. It seemed that she knew Fowler when she lived in Washington. I told you he was a bigwig with the State Department. He was one of those guys that keeps a low profile that carries a lot of influence.
Well, Tyler couldn't know that you worked for his father, could he?
Well, if he knew that, then he would know that I am Jefferson Brown. But now you see why I want to avoid Tyler and why you should avoid him as well.
I can't get over what you told me about Damien Tyler. The fact that he's the son of that man you worked for.
No, correction. Jeff Brown worked for Fowler Wilcox. Skylar Whitney never met them.
All right, all right.
Now, Detective Tyler knows that Jeff and Sky were friends. I imagine that's the reason that he's been behaving so unpleasantly towards me.
Because he didn't like Jefferson Brown, but I thought you told me that you never met him.
Well, I didn't. I mean, I knew that Fowler Wilcox had a son. I imagine he came to the State Department sometimes to visit, but I was never introduced to him.
Well, if Damien never met Jefferson Brown, then why does he dislike him?
Well, I suppose it's because he's perturbed about what I did when his father was in trouble.
What kind of trouble?
Look, it's a sad story, honey. I'm sure that you'd want to
I
hear
want
a sad
to know.
story.
Will you tell me the story?
Well, it seems that my boss, Fowler Wilcox, did something pretty rotten. Could even call it treason.
You're kidding.
No, I'm sure it wasn't for ideological reasons or anything like that, but, well, he was a little sick up here, and when his wife died, it completely unhinged him. It also left him bankrupt.
So what did he do?
He stole some documents, very sensitive, top-secret documents about contingency military plans. I guess he hoped to sell them to a foreign power or something. Anyway, he bungled the deal, and there was supposed to be a formal investigation, but it never happened.
Why not?
He beat the rap. Damien's father committed suicide.
And you were in the middle of that whole thing? My poor baby. You know, I do recall the name Fowler Wilcox, but they never actually accused him of anything, did they?
No, well, they couldn't, as I told you. I mean, the man was dead.
So he must have been guilty. Why else would he take his own life?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Was that when you left Washington and went to Switzerland?
Yeah, well, shortly thereafter, it seemed like a good idea. I mean, I could have stayed around state and gotten another job, but, well, I was pretty shaken up by the whole business.
So you liked him?
I admired him.
So why doesn't his son like you?
You mean besides the fact that he resents my having you?
You know what I mean.
I don't know. I guess he figured that I should have stayed around and try and clear his father's name. But, I mean, what could I really do? The guy was obviously irresponsible. So I decided the best thing to do was just leave the whole scene.
Well, I think you did the right thing.
I think so, too. I mean, after all, I ended up in St. Moritz where I met Sky. The most important meeting of my life. Well, oh, okay, all right. The second most important meeting of my life.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everything all right, Mr. and Mrs. Whitney?
Yeah, we're in good shape, Bill.
We should be on the ground in New York in just about an hour. All right?
Good.
Who's flying the plane?
Co-pilot.
Anyway, I'm glad that you met Sky Whitney, and I'm glad that I met Sky Whitney, and I'm glad that Mr. and Mrs. Sky Whitney are going to New York for a second honeymoon.
But not for long. Maybe just for a day.
It's going to take you more than a day to find a dancer.
Yeah, well, I'll find out whether it's possible or not in a day.
So, that's the only reason that Damien Tyler is asking all these questions.
Why don't we just drop the subject?
Really, I mean, if he thinks that Jefferson Brown is dead, then why doesn't he just forget about it?
I don't know. Maybe it's just his policeman's bloodhound instinct. I mean, they're all supposed to have it, right?
I guess.
Look, sweetheart, let's not worry about the past. People with a future should be concerned with the future.
I knew this was a bad idea to come here.
Raven, this is the only suite that I keep here in New York.
I know, but we should have gone someplace else. You just can't recreate a honeymoon.
I told you that that is not the purpose of this trip, a honeymoon. I'm here to search for a new dancer.
I know. You told me a million times, but I can't help it. I'm sentimental about this place. And about this bed.
You know, the last time you were in this bed, you were here with a different man.
I was?
Mm-hmm. See, Precious, then you were with Sky Whitney. Now you're with Jeff Brown.
That reminds me. I'm really worried about the fact that you worked with Damien Tyler's father.
Now, listen, we have agreed that our future is much too exciting to be concerned about the past,
I
right?
know, but what if the past slaps us in the face like a wet fish? I mean, what happens to our future then, huh?
What I am concerned about is the inglorious present. Today was a complete waste. Couldn't find a single dancer that was anywhere near good enough to replace Martine.
What about that Russian dancer you like so much?
Her agent called while you were in the shower. She'll only guarantee me 2 weeks. She won't begin rehearsal until December, so that's no good.
So what are you gonna do? Keep searching?
I'm tired of searching. I'm tired of dancers and their temperaments. I'm tired of agents. They're nothing but leeches anyway. I'm tired of changing the name in my marquee every 2 weeks.
Are you giving up?
Yes, I am. I think I should have left the dance company at the same time that Martine did. My mind was on other things, though.
Well, I'm glad your mind was on other things. As a matter of fact, I like where your mind is right now. Because you know what?
Mm-mm.
I didn't like that old dance company anyway. It was like a rival. You know what else?
Mm-mm.
I think you should relax, and you know what else?
Mm-mm.
I think you should enjoy yourself, and you know what else?
Mm-mm.
I think you should enjoy me.
Well, that's a pretty good idea.
I told you, they're all a bunch of dopes over there, from Miles Cavanaugh to Derek Mallory to Damien... Well, maybe not Damien. To the DA, I know all they're gonna do is slap her dainty little wrists and let her go.
Oh, I'm not concerned about Jody. It's Gavin Wiley. He's got to be made to pay for his murder of Gunther. Meanwhile, the police are just sitting on their hands.
Relax, darling. Hello.
Hello, may I speak to Mrs. Whitney?
No, this is Mrs. Whitney.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Whitney. This is Valerie Bryson.
Oh, hello, Miss Bryson. What can I do for you?
Well, I was wondering if I might come by this morning. I have the proofs of the portrait sitting that Carlo did of you before he left town.
You have the proofs. I would love to see them. Please, could you come over whenever you can?
I'm sorry I disappointed you, Mr. Whitney. The only way I could have stopped him was by shooting him, and in my opinion, killing or even wounding him was unwarranted.
Oh, I see. You just reached that conclusion on your own, is that it?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't understand your reluctance, Spencer. With your last employer, 2 men died at your hand.
I had no choice in that case. It was a life and death situation. Those 2 men were hired assassins, hitmen who attacked my employer. They were armed and dangerous. If you'll pardon me, Mr. Whitney, that was not the case last night. Mr. Wiley was unarmed.
Skylar, I think you're being ridiculous. Look, you know as well as I do that Geraldine was more responsible than Spencer was. She's the one that stopped him from shooting the gun.
Whose side are you on, anyway?
It's very kind of you to try making excuses for me, Mrs. Whitney, but I fully accept any blame. Mr. Whitney, if you would like, you have my notice.
No, I don't want you to leave, Spencer. I just want you to do the job you're being paid for. There's the doorbell. Why don't you answer that? See if you can do that right.
Yes, sir.
The man hasn't been doing his job.
Yes.
Hi, I believe Mrs. Whitney's expecting me.
Please, come in.
Well, hello, Miss Bryson.
Mr. Whitney?
Won't you have a seat?
Thank you.
Oh, that'll be all, Spencer.
Well, I have the proofs. The portraits are very nice. I hope you like them as much as I do.
Oh. These are beautiful.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
And they really are great. Let's keep them and take a look at them.
Oh, I'm so glad you're pleased.
You know, there's nothing like talent. I'm really going to miss Carlo Crown's studio.
Well, the studio will still be functioning, Mrs. Whitney. Even without Carlo, I'm keeping it open.
You're kidding. Isn't that a little risky? I mean, don't you think you should just look for work with another professional?
Well, perhaps the work won't be of such high caliber as Carlo's, but I'm going to try to make a name for myself in photography.
Are you going to change the name of the studio?
No, I don't think that Monticello is ready for the Valerie Bryson studio. I'm going to keep it the Crown studio.
Well, I don't know. It might do you some good, especially after all the notoriety you got with the newspaper stories and all about your father's money, I mean.
Yes, well, those stories are very exaggerated, I'm afraid. More fantasy than anything else.
What about these stories of your romantic phantom lover? Are those fantasy, too?
Well...
Raven, I'm sure that Miss Bryson has got better things to do than to make idle conversation. She is in business now, isn't that right, Miss Bryson?
Yes, I really
no,
have to go.
I really want to know. Please, be honest with me. You didn't really have a relationship with Jim Diedrichson, did you?
Raven.
What? Wasn't it all just that he was bored and he was looking for a little diversion? Any diversion?
Oh, forgive me, I have a lunch date in a half an hour. I really have to be going.
Now, wait a minute. The way I heard it was that there was nothing between the two of you except a bunch of bandages.
There must have been something, Mrs. Whitney, because, Jim Diedrichson proposed to me.
Is that true? Tell me the truth, Skylar. Is that true, or is she just lying?
Of course it's not true. Poor girl is living in her own fantasy world. She said it herself.
Well, thank heaven.
Hi, did you miss me?
I was so bored. You promised me you would be home a long time ago.
Well, I had to make a couple stops.
Well, you said you would be home hours ago, and you promised me, and you never think of me anymore.
Oh, I don't, huh?
No.
Oh, here.
What's this?
Oh, it's something to help you pass the time.
Oh, it's a watch.
It's about 150 years old.
It's beautiful. Tell me, did I forget something? Is there a special occasion?
Well, no, does there have to be?
No, you can bring me jewelry anytime. Groundhog Day, D-Day.
Well, that's good to know.
But this is very strange because when you left here, you were so depressed about closing the theater.
Yeah, well, I suppose I was a bit. But I cheered up quite a bit when I stopped by this little jewelry store on Powell Street.
Did you stop by just to get it from me?
Well, no, to be honest, I had to get my watch repaired.
I knew it. You did break your watch.
I didn't break it. I didn't break it at all. It was just losing a little time.
Did you get it fixed?
Yeah, I got it fixed. And I saw this little antique pendant watch, and I thought maybe we could keep time together.
Well, I love it. You really have changed moods. If I didn't know you better, I'd say you'd been drinking.
I'm only intoxicated with your eyes.
I'm so happy. It's beautiful.
Well, like I always say, one old watch deserves another. Well, all right, I don't always say that. Now we've got his and hers.
I like antiques. You know why?
Why?
Because they remind me how young I am. It's the contrast.
Well, your logic is kind of convoluted, but I love it. Don't change it a bit.
I want to set this. What time is it?
Well, it's set already. You don't have to. It's accurate. The jeweler said that.
Oh, the little old jeweler you told me about.
Yeah, that's the one.
Did it cost a lot?
Oh, lots and lots and lots.
Good.
greedy little thing, aren't you?
Uh-huh. I wish I had someone to show it to.
Well, not only you're greedy, but you're a show-off, too, huh?
I can't help it. It gives me pleasure.
Well, why not show it to Chrissy? Chrissy hasn't seen it.
No,
Hey, Chris,
no. I want to show it to someone important.
oh, so you're greedy, and you're a show-off, and you're a snob, too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that's why I love you like I do.
Well, I'm going to go upstairs and make a few calls and find somebody.
Well, all right, you find an audience to look at your new watch? You know, the Whitney Theater is vacant now. Maybe we could get enough people in there to see it.
I'm so annoyed. Nobody's home. Doesn't anybody stay at home anymore?
I don't know. Maybe when you don't call them, they're at home.
That's why I loved April Scott. You know, you could call April morning, noon, or night. She would always be there. A woman needs a friend, a confidant.
Yep. Every girl should have one.
Nancy Carr. I didn't call Nancy Carr.
You consider Nancy Carr a close friend and confidant?
Well, she can understudy until April gets back.
I swear, I don't understand how you get by in this world.
Charm.
Hello?
Nancy, this is Raven Whitney.
Oh, hello, Raven. How are you?
Wonderful.
I'm so glad.
Well, I was just wondering what you and Mike were doing tonight.
Well, right now, Mike is on his way to a conference in Springfield.
Good, so you'll be alone?
Not for long. In a little while, Kelly and I will be leaving. We're going to have dinner at Sid's Tavern.
What a coincidence. You know, I was going to be in that area. Look, why don't we meet for a drink? Kelly won't mind, I'm sure, if you don't.
Oh, I'm sure he wouldn't mind. Neither will I. Fine, see you there.
I'll be looking forward to it, Nancy. Okay, bye-bye. I'll try not to be too long, and I think I should change into something more suitable for Sid's Tavern.
Burlap?
I can't wait to see Nancy's face when she sees this. I love you. I love you.
Don't be late now. You've got to watch, so you've got no excuse.
I'll only be an hour or two. You know, Nancy, my life just couldn't be better. It just seems like I've reached peak, and I just stay there.
Well, you certainly look as though you're thriving.
Oh, thank you. I am. I have experienced a few negative things, like the burglaries and Gunther's death, but, you know, I think that wealth sort of breeds that kind of thing, and you just sort of have to accept the trouble along with the territory.
Yes, Raven, I can't help noticing that watch. Is that new?
Yes, it is. It's sort of old and new. It's an antique. Sky just gave it to me today.
Oh, it's just lovely.
Thank you. He's always doing this kind of thing, you know? One thing after another. I never know what to expect.
Oh, it's nice he's like that.
I mean, sometimes I'll see something and I'll just hint, and then the next day I'll wake up and there it is.
Isn't that thoughtful?
Yeah.
Hi, Nancy.
Kelly, hi, dear.
Hope I didn't keep you waiting.
No.
Hello, Raven.
Hello, Kelly. Oh, don't worry. I'm not going to intrude on your dinner with Nancy. I'm just going to have my little drink, and then I'm going to go home.
You went to headquarters?
Yes, I talked to Calvin and Damien. They didn't sound very hopeful since I wasn't even able to tell them where he lives.
Oh, my goodness. I forgot to tell you something. You know, when I was over at Valerie's studio this afternoon, that person called and asked if he could see her today. So maybe by now she knows where he can be reached.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, but who are you talking about? I'm just squirming with curiosity.
Well, I'm sorry. It's just something, someone concerning Valerie Bryson.
Oh, Valerie Bryson. You know, she stopped over to see me yesterday. She had proofs that Carlo Crown took before he left. They were fabulous. So anyway, what about Valerie Bryson?
Well, it's about the story that I did about her and the Vietnam War veteran.
Ah, yes, that story was a bit much, I thought. I mean, not your story, the stories that followed it, of course. They were ridiculous, I thought, but you know, I guess people seem to like that kind of thing. Anyway, poor Valerie, she must be very disappointed. She'll probably never hear from her poor war hero again.
On the contrary, Raven. She has heard from him. Jim Dietrichson's here.
That's not possible.
It's true. Jim Dietrichson is right here in Monticello.
Skylar. God, you're not going to believe this.
somewhere?
I had the evening off, Mrs. Whitney.
Oh, well, don't let me stop you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, Spencer. Why, you look all feverish and flustered and everything. Come on, sit down.
Wait till you hear my news.
Was there a big fur sale someplace?
I told you that I was going to go have a drink with Nancy Carr and show her my new present. And then Kelly McGrath came in and I nearly died when I heard what he told her.
Well, I'll try and keep my equilibrium. Tell me.
Skylar, Jim Diedrichson is in Monticello.
Raven, you could not possibly have understood this properly. I'm sure that what happened was Nancy Carr was talking about doing a follow-up to this story, and it was just a mistake.
Well, if you don't believe me, call Kelly McGrath and ask him, or better yet, call Valerie Bryson, because she saw him first.
The only Jim Diedrichson that Valerie Bryson saw was in bandages in Lucerne, Switzerland.
Well, the raps are off, kid, because he's back. And he ain't you, so figure that one out.
All right, I will. Some joker has presented himself to Valerie and said, here I am, your bandaged boyfriend. And he read about her, the character in the newspaper.
Or he read the Monticello Star about how she inherited all those millions.
Exactly. He said, this is the work of your father.
Well, wouldn't he be afraid of getting caught? You are the original Jim Diedrichson, aren't you?
Well, I'm not actually the original.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, someone else used the name before I did.
Well, that's not uncommon.
What I'm saying is I did not make the character up. See, I needed a biography, personal profile, you might say.
Oh, you mean like a real person, someone you knew?
Well, not exactly. Remember I told you that I worked in Washington and I was a small cog in a big bureaucracy?
You told me that Jefferson Brown worked for Fowler Wilcox in the State Department.
That's right. But I had another job in Washington before that, when I was first out of college in 1973. It was not a very pleasant job, but like they say in the movies, somebody had to do it.
What did you do?
Well, I worked for the Department of Defense. It was shortly after Vietnam, and there were a number of us who were collating records. It was sort of a dead file.
Dead?
Yeah, we were taking care of the records of the MIAs and the people who had been killed in Vietnam and wounded. And I ran across one file that was particularly interesting. I took it home with me, and I never brought it back.
Isn't that illegal?
Yeah, well, nobody seemed to notice. The thing that struck me about this one particular lieutenant who was in the Marine, he had no family. He was quite a bit like me.
A lieutenant? I would expect a general, but not a lieutenant.
Thank you, dear. Well, you see, there wasn't just his war record in this particular file. There also were some personal effects there. His diary was there, and a love letter he had written to his girlfriend in L.A. And I found out that we were interested in a lot of the same things. He was interested in theater. He wanted to make a career out of it. Ballet, poetry, dance. And, like me, he was also strong-minded.
And his name was Jim Diedrichson.
That's right. So this guy who's trying to pass himself off to Valerie is just a fraud.
I don't like it.
Well, honey, it's not your problem.
Your problem is my problem, and I don't like it. And I don't really care about Valerie Bryson, but I would like to protect you, dear.
Well, how are you going to do that? Are you going to go to Valerie to protect her and say this isn't the real guy, he's a fraud, and then tell her how come you're so sure?
Well, we can't very well do that, can we? Perhaps I can find out something myself.
How do you propose doing that?
Carlo Crown's last pictures. I think I'll have to pay a little visit to Valerie Bryson and